The Dodgers may have one of the best records in baseball, but they're currently playing like a team that is going to be 3-and-out this October.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me. Where's my lower third? Call me. There it is. Call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app and create an account and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever it's called now. Same handle for Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. And hey, let's go over the trivia question that was on from yesterday's show with Michael X. Ferraro. We talked a lot about the Phillies. I said, which two current Hall of Famers are the only Phillies pitchers to win 200 games in a Phillies uniform? Almost everyone got Steve Carlton. Steve Carlton was easy. I got a bunch of people saying Grover Cleveland Alexander. He didn't pitch enough years there. A lot of people said Jim Bunning, Hall of Famer. Remember, Jim Bunning played many years with Detroit as well. But the Fort of Knox got it well. That's my team. Robin Roberts and lefty. He's an everyday Sully, by the way. Use that hashtag everyday Sully. By the way, the Phillies, just putting a button on the Phillies, they got fired up today. They won a game against Tampa Bay in a rematch of the weird 2008 World Series. And once again, Kyle Schwarber hit a leadoff home run. This is leadoff home run number 14, which is a record. And Ranger Suarez did not pitch well at all. He let up 12 hits in 5 1/3 innings. But Bryce Harper, who we were all talking about, needs to rest his wrist. Well, he got 3 doubles, so there you go. Trey Turner got 3 hits. Schwarber homered. Turner hit 2 home runs. So Turner had a day. And but the player everyone's talking about is Edwin Uceta, who is a talented relief pitcher for Tampa, who drilled Nick Castellanos. Uceta went into today's game with a 0.75 earned run average. 0.75. And then he let up a home run, and now his ERA is 1.49. Still good, but almost doubled what it was based on the fact he let up 4 hits and 3 runs, including a homer, in 1/3 of an inning. And he got ejected by the home plate umpire when he hit Nick Castellanos. And this was after Uceta had let up a home run to Trey Turner. He didn't hit Harper. He doubled. But then he nailed Castellanos. So now everyone's saying, oh, I didn't mean to. Is what he said. And Castellanos was like, yeah, I knew it was coming. And Harper was mad. And I'm not a big beanball war guy. I hate beanball. I hate people trying to show their manhood with beanballs. I love what Nick Castellanos said, which is that it's like, throwing a baseball at someone is like a kid throwing a temper tantrum after you take your toy away. That's right. I've never been impressed by that. Well, you had a home run. I'm going to drill you the next time. Yeah, well, then they're on base, idiot. Doesn't show how tough you are. It shows that A, you're not a good enough pitcher to get an out, and B, you're not strong enough to realize you need to do what's better for the team. Like putting a runner on base is not good for the team. My ego, blah, blah, blah. But Harper made a great point. He said, we're throwing the ball too fast these days to be able to do that. That's right. Back in the old days where they police themselves, whatever nonsense. I've always waved my hand. That's a bunch of nonsense. But now you got middle relievers throwing the ball 100 miles an hour. Ease up on the machismo and focus on winning the damn game. But the Phillies won that game, and with that, they have the best, say it would be, the best record in baseball right now. There's not going to be a 100-win team. There's only, 17, 18 more games left to play. uh, the Phillies would pretty much have to win out, almost completely win out to win 100 games. And the Dodgers would have to do the same thing too. There's a chance they would have a 90-win team in the AL West. The Houston Astros have lost their last 2 games. Of course, the Mariners can't take advantage of that. They lost the extra innings to the A's team. So we're not going to have a 100-win team. There's not going to be a super team this year. And the last bunch of years, the Dodgers have been a 100-win team, and that's amounted to exactly piddly-poo. They won over 100 games in 2019, 2021, 2022, and last year. And they couldn't make it. They got to the league championship series once in that stretch. And most of the time, they were eliminated in the division series. Well, they have 86 wins. They've dropped their last 2 games. And tonight was an alarming game. This has been an alarming few games for the Dodgers. First and foremost, their pitching staff is really, at this, not that good. Now, Flaherty has pitched very well, thank you very much, and he's obviously going to get a start. But Buehler has not been good. Bobby Miller has not been good. You're gonna. I mean, Landon Knack and Jack Flaherty are going to be your probably getting the 2 games that they're going to be starting, and they haven't been going deep. And I don't trust this staff in a short series right now. Now, if the playoffs started today, and we're at a point where it's not crazy to say that, Los Angeles would have the bye week, which I'm also not convinced is a positive thing for a team like the Dodgers, but I digress. So as of right now, LA, now granted, they're only 3 games ahead of, they're 2.5 games ahead of Milwaukee, so they may not get that bye anyway. But anyway, LA would get, the Brewers would play either the Mets or the Braves, and San Diego and Arizona would play, and the winner of that would play the Dodgers. Now, Arizona has been up and down. San Diego's been pretty good, and congratulations to Manny Machado, who's now the all-time home run champion for the San Diego Padres. The way those teams have been playing, I'd give an edge to the Diamondbacks or the Padres. Will this be yet another year where another NL West team beat them? Are you trying to tell me you couldn't see that happening? And today's game, what a microcosm. Yamamoto came back after remember Yamamoto, who's going to be the great ace in baseball and everything like that? Well, he came back after a lengthy injury. And Yamamoto is, undoubtedly talented, and they signed him to a very long contract where they expect him to be not just an ace pitcher, but a potential Cy Young. This was his 15th start. And he struck out 8 in 4 innings of pitching, and he is signed. How long is he signed? He's signed through 2035. 2035 he is signed for. So they're expecting him to be an ace for a very long time. Thank you very much. And so in today's game, actually, let me open up the box score here. So he started to give the Dodgers what they wanted right away. We knew he wasn't going to pitch, 9, but he struck out. I think he struck out the first batter he faced, but then he wound up giving the Dodgers, 4 innings. 4 innings, struck out 8, didn't walk any, 4 hits, one run, and he threw 59 pitches. Now his fellow countryman Imanaga was coming off the combined no-hitter. Well, Johnny Vandermeer is safe. Imanaga let up hits right away. He pitched 7 innings and pitched pretty well. Brazier it was the cavalcade of pitchers coming out. But here's the thing that's disturbing. The Dodgers, who got home runs from Muncy and a pair of them from Tommy Edman, not only did their pitching not have any length to it, they were sloppy, big time sloppy. They had a 3-1 lead, and they lost 6-3. And one of the main reasons they lost was error, throwing behind the third baseman, catcher making an error. they looked sloppy. They didn't look like a team that was gearing up for a championship run. And by the way, Crow Armstrong of the Cubs put on a defensive clinic there, stealing a double from Shohei Ohtani and stealing a home run from Muncy. And Crow Armstrong also drove in a pair of runs himself. And they got good. Their pitching was good enough from Imanaga to get the win. But the Dodgers just didn't look strong. And there's a lot on the line for this team. They're trying to win their first normal championship since 1965. What does that mean? Well, the last title they won, which counts as the World Series title of 2020, but it was a weird title. It was during COVID in front of cardboard cutouts, and they won in Texas. It felt kind of weird. The 88 title, again, a legitimate World Series title, but it felt weird because it was a weird Dodger team with a lot of players cut and pasted from other teams. Even Kirk Gibson was mainly a Tiger his career. You know, you had that season, the Dodgers had Dodger legends like Pedro Guerrero and Fernando Valenzuela, but Fernando was hurt and they traded away Pedro. It was a lot of players like John Shelby and Rick Dempsey and Mickey Hatcher, all who were beloved Dodgers, but they were kind of like transient Dodgers. That was mainly a showcase for Tom Lasorda to outmanage the Mets and the A's to win that title. The 81 title was weird because, again, it was a strike year, and the Dodgers actually won fewer games than the Reds. The Reds should have been the NL West champion. It was weird. So the last time we had a relatively normal championship was when Sandy Koufax and company beat Minnesota in 1965. Again, I'm not saying those other titles were not legitimate. They all were. They were just all pretty weird. And this crew is drooling to have that second championship to get them off the, well, they only won when it was 60 games, as if that was easier. But right now, again, there's no super team, but the way that they look, the way that their pitching staff is cobbled together, this doesn't look like a team that's going to go very far. And for all the people who said at the beginning of the year that it's unfair that the Dodgers bought another title and blah, 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 blah. Are you saying that now? Is that something you're saying right now? Because if you are, I think you might be wrong. All right, you know all about Gametime. Gametime is the place to get tickets for any live event. Not just baseball, not just football or basketball, but for theater, for comedy, for concerts. And Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. And they have all-in pricing, which means you do not get any surprise fees at the end. And the curation for Gametime Picks makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. You get a panoramic view for the seat in the app before you apply with Seat Views, the lowest price guaranteed. Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. And Gametime ticket coverage has your tickets covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, check out Locked On A's. That's the other podcast I host here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Why should you listen to that if you're not an A's fan? Well, we're doing a lot of interesting stuff, including bringing in Brian from the Last Dive Bar to talk about the craziness of the A's move. And the Oakland A's only have a couple more weeks left in Oakland before they begin this bizarre trek to first Sacramento, and then who knows. Follow us wherever you get your podcast at Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. You know, one of the interesting things about what's going on right now in baseball is you're going to see a lot of jockeying for position at the top of some of the spots. The Orioles and Yankees, a half a game separate the two of them. The Yankees are still in first, but they got shut out by Lugo and the Kansas City Royals. Lugo's making an interesting case to be the American League Cy Young Award winner. Stroman pitched well. He did pitch badly, but the Yankees bats just died. And by the way, they're another team that, again, they may wind up having the best record in the American League when all is said and done. But if there's any team that could get shut down in a 3-game series, it's going to be the Yankees. Baltimore, though, the same thing. Now, Suarez pitched well enough to win. Sir Anthony Dominguez got the save, and Baltimore dust themselves off after getting a brutal smackdown by the Red Sox the other day. And Mullins got a pair of home runs, and Rutschman drove in a pair of runs. And as I said, Suarez struck out his 8 batters, and the Red Sox had a comeback at the end, but it fell short. And so right now, a half game separate the two of them. And I just get the sense that it's just going to be that way the rest of the year. Back and forth and back and forth. It's going to not make a lot of sense at all. And we're just going to have to get used to it. That's just going to be how it is. That's how the proverbial cookie shall crumble. Now, the other one is a little more interesting, and that is Atlanta and the Mets. Now, today, the Mets lost, and it was a pretty convincing loss. Bassett was pitching for Toronto, and you saw that it was Clement's day. He got Clement did well. Clement got a triple. Schneider got a triple, and Bassett pitched well enough to win 8 strikeouts over 6 innings. Peterson was not good. And with that, the Mets lost the game 6-2 in Toronto. And Atlanta dusted themselves off from a bad loss the other day to absolutely trounce Gore and the Washington Nationals. Michael Harris II, he homered twice. Arcia homered. Soler doubled. And it was a bullpen game. So Chavez and Jackson, a bunch of other pitchers all got together. Laureano went 3 for 4, also went 3 for 5. Murphy drove in 3. Everything clicked as they held Washington to 3 hits over and no runs over the game. So once again, the Braves and the Mets are at a flat-footed tie. So the Mets and the Blue Jays, Manaea has pitched very well recently, and he's going up against Francis, who is very talented. Man, it's unbelievable to me that the Blue Jays, I've said this all year, but the Blue Jays have had so much talent on this team. And right now, we're talking in Lockdown A's about how the A's are trying to avoid, they've successfully avoided 100 losses. It looks like they're going to avoid the cellar. And now they're going to try to meet the next team up the standings. Well, the next team up in terms of the American League standings would be Toronto. Toronto should have been contending for a pennant, not watching the A's breathe down their neck in the middle of September. So we're going to see these teams. I have a feeling it's not even going to be, at this point, it's not about who's better. It's just about how things are going to fall into place. Now, there's one other player in baseball who we should really give a little salute to, and that came in the Detroit Tiger game, and it was quite frankly a rookie pitcher for the Tigers who I don't think I've ever said his name out loud until right now, but it is Kiter. Is it Keeter or Kiter? I thought it was Kiter Montrero threw a complete game shutout. Remember those? Remember complete game shutouts? But he threw a complete game shutout for the Detroit Tigers, who were hanging around. They've got a winning record. And wait, who the hell did he threw that against? I thought he did. It was against Colorado. Complete game shutout, 11-0. And notice they just let him complete the game. It drives me crazy sometimes when you have someone who's pitching a great game, and he threw how many pitches did he throw? He threw 96 pitches and a complete game shutout. And a big part of that is no walks. No walks. He lowered his ERA to 4.88. But there he is. He went the distance. He absolutely went the distance. And with that, the Tigers are 74 and 71. Now, are they realistically in it? Well, they're 3 games out. Minnesota won, and they're playing the Angels, and the Angels stink. But let's just say the Tigers beat the Rocks and the Twins lose to the Angels. Well, then the Tigers will only be 2 games out. So give them credit, though. I didn't, as once again, never said the name of Kiter Montero until tonight. But he earned it. The man, he pitched like an ace. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. Say that 3 times fast. PrizePicks is the best way to get on action on sports in most states, including Texas, Georgia, and right here in California. And PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I can get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You could double your money, even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, this is a reminder that Locked On has created the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, Locked On Sports Today gives you all the best news and takes for all the sports with local hosts and national hosts like myself. Check out Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and on Amazon TV and the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Of course, it's September 11th, and for all of us who are old enough to remember it, I don't think we'll ever totally get over it. And for those of us who were in New York City that day, like myself, it has an added connotation, and it is something I may never, it will always be a day I just shake my head at. Of course, we all remember how baseball became a big part of the healing process that brought a lot of people together. A lot of people rooted for the Yankees. I actually didn't, but a lot of people rooted for the Yankees in the Diamondbacks World Series, which is one of the great World Series of all time. But it gave everyone a respite. It gave everyone something to root for and cheer for. And the memories of September 11th are always intertwined with the Yankees' run to the World Series. And tragedies have a way of doing that, of bringing people together. I mean, the horrible floods in Houston, and you remember that was the year the Astros won the World Series, and there was a sense of camaraderie there. The marathon bombing and in Boston in 2013, which led to the Boston Strong years, the race riots in Detroit, and how that team was brought together by the Tigers. It's wonderful when terrible things bring us together. And we need more things to bring us together. I thought the pandemic was going to bring us together, but that just fractured us even more. These are big-time fractured times. I'm not going to get into the politics. We just had a debate, and I don't care where you stand. This is a respite for politics. But it's kind of like how I like to say positive things about people before they die so they can hear us and don't save it for the eulogy. We should be using sports and baseball and things like that to bring us together before a tragedy. Why do we have to wait for the tragedy? Why do we have to wait for something bad to happen? Why can't we just see it as something we can agree on, or something we can have healthy fights over? Again, we just had a political debate tonight. Some people are on this side, some people are on that side. Everyone is welcome here. We're going to avoid political talk as best as I possibly can. But why do we have to wait for something bad? Why can't it just be the instinct? Why do we have to wait for an earthquake to meet your neighbors in California? That would be the 1989 World Series. I was in the Bay Area then, and the World Series helped bring people together after the terrible events there. Why do we have to wait for something bad? Why do we have to wait for a punch to the face? Why do we have to wait for a thing to have us heal? Why can't we just have it be the thing that we realize, okay, we're in super fractured times. We couldn't even have a pandemic that killed so many people and have that be a rallying cry or a unifying cry for us all. So why don't we just try it? Why don't we just try to befriend people who are different than us, have different opinions, different thoughts, different politics, different religions, different sexuality, whatever it is, and use baseball as a unifying jumping point? Why do we have to wait for a tragedy? Let's just get the good part. Let's figure out the good part first. Because quite frankly, I don't want to deal with any more tragedies. The reason I love baseball is it's always there for us. And it's a way to feel frustrated about something, feel happy about something, feel sad about something, feel anger about something, feel exultation about something, which in the end isn't life or death, but gives us something that's positive and unifying, a connection. We don't have enough connections. We have enough repulsions. We have enough things. We have people who we didn't even realize we knew how to hate we can interact with on the internet and all this other stuff. And some of you who found new ways to hate have wound up writing comments to me, and those are always welcome. But let's use this as a unifying, and let's not wait for the next great tragedy. Let's just enjoy it as it is right now and say, hey, we're in fractured times. You can blame this side or that side or whoever you want to blame. That's not on me. But what I will say is this. There's a lot of reasons to like each other. There's a lot of common ground we can all find. So let's just do it now. Let's just do it all now, because do you know why? Because waiting for the tragedy is just a waste of energy. By the way, brings us to the trivia question. Mike Piazza's famous home run to give the Mets the lead in the first game back in New York after the attacks on September 11th. He hit a 2-run home run. Here's the trivia question. Who was on base? Who was on base when Mike Piazza hit the famous post 9/11 home run? Put that down in the notes right there. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball on Twitter, Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about the Dodgers and the back and forth races and wanting to skip the tragedy and just get to the unifying. This has been Locked On MLB for September 11th, 2024. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.